All of us are convinced that we're getting all the nutrients we need from our food, so we turn to supplements instead. I have to be honest and say that I have used vitamins and supplements since I was 17. And I think that's because I used to go to the movies a lot, and I used to read all my film books, which told me about all these film stars that took all these vitamins and they looked fantastic and lived long. And so I decided that I would take a multivitamin when I was about 17. And I have to tell you what, I've been on them ever since. As you've heard, I've been quite an advocate for the vitamin business. Some say I'm wasting my money, but I'm really struck by the number of stories in the press loudly declaring these pills aren't necessary and that a good diet can provide everything I need and that those extra vitamins could even do me some harm. But I'm in good company. Almost a third of people in the UK take vitamin pills every day.
I do.
What do you take?
Vitamin C, vitamin D. I take glucosamine and that sort of thing.
And why do you take that?
Just to keep me healthy, really, because I've got osteoarthritis in my knees. So.
And was that advised to you by a doctor?
Yes, it was.
There seems to be a supplement for every occasion and condition. But meanwhile, the debate continues to rage as to whether we actually need supplements at all. A 2013 study concluded that well-nourished adults do get the nutrients they need simply from diet. So I was interested to know how many of us have any idea of the amount of vitamins we get from our food. What do you buy for vitamin C?
Oh, I don't know. What's in them, no.
Or would you know where to get vitamin D?
No.
Would you know where you would get vitamin D in food?
No, not really, no. To be honest, no.
Or magnesium?
No.
How about calcium?
Well, that's like milk and stuff, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. The multi-million-pound advertising campaigns selling supplements are highly effective at making us feel that we need to buy their pills to make us healthier. But nutritional therapist Ian Marber thinks that we forget just how easy it is to get our vitamins from good old-fashioned fruit and veg. Let's just talk about some of the nutrients in some of the common vegetables that we buy day in, day out.
All fruit and vegetables are going to be good sources of nutrients. Anything that's going to be dark green is going to have a lot of magnesium in it, and also probably a lot of calcium. So Brussels sprouts are all like broccoli because they contain that bitter taste that comes from something called glucosinolates, which actually have potential to combat some forms of cancer.
What about carrots?
Carrots obviously are going to get a lot of vitamin A and beta-carotene in there again. Anything that's going to be bright orange or bright red, you're going to get beta-carotene and also antioxidants in as well.
And then we come to one of my favourites, because I find a banana with me in the car or in my bag or something, it's a really good standby.
Yes.
So is it a really good source of everything?
It is a good source of minerals, especially potassium. So you often see tennis players eating bananas, partly because they're portable, and in fact, the potassium is needed to ease sore muscles. Again, good value, portable, 1 of your 5 a day, why wouldn't you have them?
With all this wonderful food around us, it's sometimes hard to understand why it is that we need supplements at all. Because Ian says the typical multivitamin could be replicated to some degree by a surprisingly small amount of food. A bowl of vegetable soup. A chicken breast with 2 servings of vegetables, preferably one green and one orange, with some brown rice. And for pudding, some low-fat and low-sugar yogurt and an apple. Have a meal like this every day, and Ian says you could probably do away with a multivitamin pill altogether.
Multivitamins are not necessary for the majority of people. That said, a multivitamin contains, obviously, the vast majority of the minerals and the vitamins that we need. Effectively, you probably would get most of those from having a decent diet. It's quite a useful thing to take, but I wouldn't necessarily look at a multivitamin as being anything that gives you significant amounts. It just fills in 1 or 2 cracks.
A large number of experts would agree with Ian that in the UK, our diets are generally sufficient to get the vitamins we need. Although, like many people, the vitamins I take are recommended by a doctor. And it is a good idea to check with your doctor what you're actually taking, if only because some supplements may interfere with other medications. Like me, Carolyn Maloney from Leicester is a fan of vitamin supplements, and she regularly takes fish oils, vitamin D and magnesium, as well as an effervescent vitamin C and zinc.
I probably spend about £10 a month on supplements. I take cod liver oil, a propensity to arthritis, I tend that helps me. Magnesium, I take the vitamin D. Vitamin C we tend to take, my husband and I, during the winter when there's a lot more coughs and colds around.
Carolyn goes to the gym and tries to eat healthily, but she still worries that her diet doesn't give her enough of the essential vitamins her body needs. She takes supplements to make up any shortfall, but even so, she's not entirely sure that she's getting it right. So we've asked Carolyn to keep a food diary, so that Ian can see whether what she eats means that those supplements just aren't necessary.
I'd be interested to find out whether or not the effort that I'm making in terms of choosing the right foods to eat is actually making a difference, or whether or not I've just been a victim of hype.
Ian quickly spots one widely taken vitamin that he thinks Carolyn could be taking too much of.
I understand that you take an effervescent vitamin C as well. Why do you do that?
That's right, we do. Both my husband and I tend to take that in the winter. We both work in the health service, surrounded by sick people, so therefore we try to enhance our immunity.
The evidence to support vitamin C and sort of avoiding coughs and colds is not quite robust.
Carolyn's supplement contains more than 20 times the recommended daily intake of vitamin C, and most of that will be wasted because her body will only use the vitamin C it needs and then get rid of the rest.
You're having an awful lot there, but in a way it sort of compensates the fact you're not having much in the way of fruit and vegetables, and obviously not having potatoes and sweet potatoes, which are good sources.
The same effervescent tablet contains 15 milligrams of zinc, which helps to boost the immune system. But Carolyn's diet is already rich in poultry, nuts and seeds, which are naturally good sources of zinc. It's not just Carolyn's jumbo-sized supplements that might not be necessary. Some other effervescent vitamins also give the sort of doses that many of us just don't need.
For instance, your typical, one of the better-known ones, has got 900%, so it's 9 times more of the RDA recommended daily allowance of vitamin B1, vitamin B2. It's got 500% of vitamin B6, so significantly more than you need.
As well as the vitamins you know you're getting when you buy an effervescent supplement, there are other ingredients that might come as a bit of a surprise, including very high levels of sodium and salt. Too much salt can raise the blood pressure and lead to heart attacks and strokes. So if you're taking an effervescent every day, it's crucial that you know how much is inside. A closer look at Carolyn's diet reveals there are other supplements that Ian thinks she's taking too much of.
She's taking 500 milligrams of magnesium before sleep. That's a lot of magnesium, and certainly magnesium does help with relaxing muscles, which is important. However, it relaxes all muscles, including the digestive system, so that's certainly more than I would recommend. There's no particular harm in taking that level, but I wouldn't recommend that anyone started anywhere near that.
Carolyn says she uses magnesium to help relax after exercise, but Ian says that a banana would do the job just as well. There is, however, one key vitamin that Ian agrees Carolyn should be getting through a supplement, and that's vitamin D, which we get mostly from sunshine.
You're taking vitamin D, I think you're taking the right amount there, and that's certainly something I would suggest you keep doing.
Would there be anything I could perhaps eat naturally to enhance my vitamin D?
There is, in fact. If you had some oily fish, that would help.
Vitamin D is hard to get from food, so taking it in a supplement is recommended for anyone over 65 and those who aren't exposed to the sun very often. And last year, a group of government health advisors recommended that everyone should increase their vitamin D intake because most of us only get half the vitamin D we actually need. As a result, it's the one supplement that is generally believed lots of us could benefit from. But as with all of them, do get your GP's advice first. And there's no doubt that when it's possible to get nutrients from food, that's always going to be the best choice.
When you get nutrients from natural sources, you're getting everything else that goes alongside it, and also things like fibre, you're getting fat, you're getting protein, you're getting carbohydrates, so everything else that works with that nutrient.
Vitamin supplements can be useful to plug the gaps in our diet, because as you'll see later on, there are essential nutrients like selenium, which is no longer easy to get from food. But the official government advice is that eating a balanced diet is the best way for most people to get their essential vitamins. That said, supplements are recommended for some particular groups. For example, it's advised that children under 5 are given vitamins A, C, and D, and pregnant women will benefit from extra folic acid. But for the rest of us, before rushing to spend money on supplements we might not need, the best advice is to take a closer look at what we're actually eating, because chances are you're getting those nutrients already.
The chance of being deficient in this country is thankfully really, really low. That doesn't mean we couldn't benefit from taking some more or having some more in our food, but unless you've got a really, really appalling diet or on a very low-calorie diet, or alternatively are in a situation where you're really not eating very much, then you don't need supplements.
Now, there are some foods that really boost your energy and make you feel ready to take on the world. That's why so many of us start the morning with a cup of coffee.
But you know, other foods can make you feel drowsy or even make the whole body feel a bit sluggish.
We've probably all got our own foods we swear by, not necessarily backed up by proof or science, but there are foods that really do have tried and tested powers. So we wanted to see how different foods affect your exercise, your sleep, or even how you'll get through a long, hard day. The food we eat has a crucial impact on how we feel. So being able to predict the effects a particular meal will have on your body could make all the difference. I'd love to know which foods would most help my working day. But when the papers just don't seem to agree on which foods are the right ones for the job, it's not easy knowing whether your lunch is going to send you to sleep, your dinner's going to keep you up all night, or your snacks will stop you in your tracks. I buy and sell fruit and veg for a living. On the one hand, that means I've got access to plenty of healthy food, but it also means lots of early mornings. That would be fine if I could get to bed early, but a young family and my other job on the telly don't always make that easy. So, to find out how the food I eat can help me conquer a busy day, I've called in nutritionist Charlotte Sterling-Reid. So, Charlotte, are you a firm believer that food is fuel?
Yeah, I guess the food that we eat every day is what gives us our energy, and it's what gives us the ability for us to be able to get up and go to work and do all of the things that we need to every day. So without a doubt, food is our fuel, yes.
Tomorrow, I'll be up and about for 18 hours, so I've asked Charlotte to come up with a meal plan full of foods that will most effectively fuel my body and my brain. But first, she needs to knock some bad habits on the head. Like a lot of people, you know, when you're tired, when your sugar levels start to dip a little bit, I'm guilty of grabbing an energy drink, having a coffee, or maybe a bar of chocolate.
What you're suggesting is very, very common, but actually those aren't necessarily healthy food options.
So the meal plan Charlotte's put together is packed with things that are good for me and will help me power through my busy day tomorrow. I'll be up at 3 a.m, then straight off to the wholesale market for work. I'd normally just have a coffee to kick off the day. When I get to the office around 6, it's normally cereal and toast for breakfast, followed by a sandwich for lunch about 12. Then, when I finish work at 4, it's peak snacking time for me, perhaps an energy drink or a chocolate bar. But not tomorrow. After I finish in the office, I need to drive into London to do some work for my other job, with the BBC. That should take 2 or 3 hours, then I'll finally be home around 9 or 10 at night. Charlotte's meal plan has a lot resting on it.
What I've decided, because I know you don't normally have breakfast until about 7 o'clock, is to try and encourage you to eat some fruit. So something like a banana is a really good option for you to have in the morning, just to give you a little bit of a boost of energy to get you through that first part of the morning.
Okay, that's nice and easy. I can do that. You can do that on the run. I can do that in the car on my way to the market.
Okay, brilliant. I've then got a really nice, hearty breakfast for you, which is going
Bacon
to be...
and eggs?
No, not this time. It's going to be porridge oats.
Okay.
It's high in energy, lots of B vitamins and also fibre, which will help to keep you a bit fuller for longer.
Okay.
So hopefully you won't have that need to graze it or have any other foods really until lunch.
Charlotte's meal plan is all about foods that will release their energy slowly to keep me going all day long.
Okay, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got a really busy day. I wouldn't ordinarily have anything to eat at this time, but Charlotte suggested having a banana just to kickstart things and take me through till breakfast, so here goes.
Over the next few hours, the banana does seem to do its stuff. Helped, of course, by a few sneaky samples at the market too. But it's not just me testing out a different meal plan. 200 miles away from my working day, there's a group of Manchester footballers that need a hand to power them on the pitch. Because at the moment, this trio from the Ashton Panthers don't exactly eat like champions. Rachel, Kay and Charlotte's typical pre-match snack is a quick fix that can make them feel sluggish on the pitch.
Normally I just have takeaways on training days, but it's feel really heavy when we run. Usually just like a sandwich from like a meal deal sandwich, maybe a chocolate bar. To be honest, it's just pure laziness. At a push, I'll cook myself some noodles, but it's just usually like some toasted noodles for like chicken soup noodles.
So just like me, the girls are getting their own meal plan from Charlotte, so they can better utilise their food as fuel. But in their case, it's full of foods that should help them up their game, something their current diets definitely don't do.
Their diets are quite high in junk. What we want them to be doing is choosing healthier options which are going to help to fuel their bodies, provide nutrients and hopefully help them to feel better, more motivated and might actually help them to perform better during their football training.
For breakfast, Charlotte's giving the girls porridge with seeds and berries, followed by a mid-morning snack of fruit. For lunch, it will be salmon and a quinoa salad with greens, and for dinner, chicken, potatoes and veg, with a healthy dessert of low-fat Greek yogurt and dried fruit.
Have we any better? Yeah, ever have sandwich at push? Yeah, never. I wouldn't even have to cook after that.
Something like fish and salmon contains plenty of protein, again really good for replenishing muscle stores and also for helping to keep people full for a little bit longer. Also the fish contains healthy fats, which is a really important element that we need to get throughout the day.
And there's more protein-packed, muscle-fueling foods after training to help their bodies quickly recover. It's a radical change to their usual diet, but they're up for the challenge.
Sounds interesting, at least. We say like fruit and vegetables energise, but I'm not sure how much it will impact with performance.
To help us monitor the results, we've recorded how many calories football captain Charlotte would typically burn on a training session, fueled by her normal diet. And we'll measure what she burns after trying the new diet, to see what difference it's made to her game. Back in London, I've left the market, and I'm just about to start my day in the office. Normally, I might not have had anything to eat all morning, but I've got to admit, I'm feeling better after that 3 a.m. banana. I can't say I'm excited about what's coming up for breakfast, though.
Ordinarily, I'd have cereal and some toast, but Charlotte suggested I have porridge. She said it would keep me fuller for longer. I put some raisins and nuts and seeds in it like she suggested. Not the tastiest thing I've ever had, but if it keeps me full till lunch, that's great.
And with some snacks that Charlotte recommended on hand by my desk, some nuts and some plain popcorn, I've been able to keep my energy levels up without turning to the bad snacks that Charlotte warned me about. So I'm already starting to see how even the small changes to my usual routine can make a difference to how I feel. But will our footballers get the same benefit? After their last training session, nutritionist Charlotte swapped the girls' takeaways and treats for some fresh fruit, fish and complex carbohydrates.
It was a lot compared to what I usually eat, because I just eat one big meal at lunch. It was a lot healthier. I don't feel bloated like I usually even just eat like a sandwich or something before training, then I usually feel a bit like bloated off the bread, which hopefully will impact my training, but we'll find out.
But the true test will be what happens as their next training session gets underway. And at half-time, our nutritionist is armed with bananas to give the girls a quick boost of energy.
And how you guys are feeling? Tired, guys? Might be alright after this.
With their blood sugars boosted, the girls all felt they played better than they usually would.
I felt a lot lighter, so I felt like I could run a little bit more. Towards the second, I think I felt I had more energy than usual. Okay, that's really good. I think the banana helped in between. Yeah, I like the banana. I think that gave me like a little second wind to carry on.
They might say they perform better, but we'll only know for sure after measuring how many calories team captain Charlotte burnt off. If it's more than last time, it's a good indicator that the new food plan gave her more energy, increased her stamina, and made her play harder on the pitch.
So last week we had you expending 298 calories. This week we've got you expending 381. So it seems like perhaps you were maybe running a little bit more, but generally you've expended more calories this week than you did last week. I'm amazed with that, yeah. Because I actually didn't. I did doubt your diet plan, to be honest. I didn't know how beneficial it's going to be, but it seems to have paid off. So I will try and keep up with it.
So that's nearly 100 extra calories burnt on the pitch. And while it's not the most scientific test around, nutritionist Charlotte is pretty convinced any improvement is down to what they ate.
What do you think about trying to get the rest of your team to maybe join in, make a couple of the changes that you have found have been beneficial to you guys? I think I'd go for a banana at half time for definite. Top of the league!
But it's not just when you're being active that you might see a benefit from rethinking what you choose to eat. Later in the programme, we'll see how changing their diet could help these night shift workers sleep better on their nights off. And find out if I was able to stick to my diet plan for the rest of that busy working day, or if in the end, my usual bad habits got the better of me.
Still to come, full fat, semi-skimmed, almond or soya. Which milk will win the battle of the bottles? The food we eat has amazing powers and can help our bodies conquer all sorts of common conditions. Every day, GP Dr. Ronan Chatterjee sees patients whose problems could be helped or even solved by changing their diet. So we asked him to share some of his secrets. Today we're looking at foods that can affect arguably the most vital organ in the body, the brain.
You may have heard that omega-3 and oily fish can be good for your brain, but there's other foods that can help as well.
First up, foods that can make us feel happy, and a lot more than the go-to treats that we normally use to lift our moods.
Serotonin is a chemical you've probably already heard of. It's famous for actually helping to cheer us up, and you may know it as one of the chemicals that's found in chocolates.
It's dark chocolate that increases serotonin levels, with products containing 85% cocoa being the most effective, although this temporary brain boost typically only lasts 1 or 2 hours.
However, serotonin levels can also be boosted by eating foods such as eggs or cheese, fruits such as pineapple, or even meats such as turkey.
There are also feel-good foods that can help our brains cope with the daily stresses of life, including one you'd probably never have guessed that would lighten your mood.
First of all is spinach. Now, spinach may not be your normal go-to food when you're feeling stressed, but actually it's rich in something called magnesium. Now, magnesium can really help us feel a greater sense of well-being and help us relax because it helps regulate and master stress hormone cortisol. Other magnesium-rich foods include dark leafy greens such as kale, but also nuts, avocados, eggs and salmon.
As well as influencing how we feel, our diet plays a significant role in keeping the brain healthy. And a whole host of foods can help ward off what remains to be one of the biggest killers in the UK.
Now, strokes affect over 100,000 people in the UK every single year. And the commonest type of stroke is where we get a blockage in blood flow to a particular part of your brain.
Those who are obese or overweight are at a greater risk from strokes.
As a GP, I'd always say that your best way of reducing the likelihood of getting a stroke is by cutting down unhealthy processed fatty foods, such as processed bacon, processed sausages, sugary drinks, and instead of those, concentrating on fresh fruits and veg, berries, broccoli, spinach, bananas, but also a more Mediterranean type diet, so oily fish such as salmon and things such as avocados and olives, as well as lots of olive oil.
Sean Lloyd, a former HGV driver from Lincolnshire, had a stroke in 2012.
At the time of my stroke, I was 28 stone. Basically, what I was eating was the all-day breakfast, don't forget, salmon eggs, and loads of chocolate, which was nowhere to carry on. And we have proper meals now on our breakfast, dinner, and tea. Yeah, and we have loads and loads of vegetables. I managed to lose 12 stone, and I'm now down to 16, and hopefully that's where I'm going to be. And just to show you how things are, I used to wear this all the time, yeah, at 28 stone. And as you can see, I've lost a bit.
Good man. There's no shortage of other foods that can give your brain a quick fix. Rich in vitamin C are blackcurrants, red peppers and kiwis. They're very good for increasing mental agility. While broccoli is a great source of vitamin K, known to enhance brain function. And if you can't remember where you left your keys like me, foods that can help with short-term memory include zinc-rich pumpkin seeds, blueberries and the herb sage. And sadly, it's not true that there's any miracle food that boosts your brain to such an extent that you'll end up even more clever.
Now, there's a myth that actually eating certain kinds of food are going to increase your intelligence. The foods people generally are talking about are omega-3s, and they're fats that you often find in fish such as tuna and mackerel. Now look, eating them long term may well have an impact on your brain health, but actually in the short term, they're not going to help you ace your test this afternoon.
Now, if there's one food we've known about for a very long time that has some pretty impressive powers, it's milk. It's high in calcium, loaded with nutrients, and it's natural. But there are those who've given it up completely, turning to alternatives like soya, almond, or rice milk instead. And reading some headlines, it's no wonder. This headline, it says, milk may not protect bones and increases the risk of heart disease. Confusion reigns, and it seems that modern-day milk isn't quite as nutritious as the kind I had as a girl growing up. But can those alternatives really match the white stuff that we've all grown up with? There's a Lancashire football team that, frustratingly for its management, is still best known to some not for its performance on the pitch, but for its name check in this 1980s ad.
Milk! Ugh! It's what Ian Rush drinks. Ian Rush? Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I want to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley! Who are they? Exactly!
Completely natural and packed with nutrients, milk has for generations been considered essential for almost everyone, from cradle to the grave. And for many, that's a message that's stuck.
We love cow's milk. So
Yeah, nothing wrong with cow's milk. I like full fat milk, buttermilk's milk, it's calcium.
She drinks green top I drink. Yeah, green top.
Well, I just feel semi-skimmed. I don't have full fat.
A bit of full fat milk's not really going to hurt you, I don't think, if it's in a part of a well-balanced diet.
But there's been a spate of headlines questioning if that's really true. Reports raising fears of milk's apparent dangers, or asking if we should be worried about drinking it. Maybe one reason why sales of the traditional white stuff are at an all-time low. Now, all the experts we've spoken to have dismissed those scaremongering headlines, which were based on one small piece of research. Even so, 4 out of 10 households now buy one of the host of alternatives that these days are on our supermarket shelves. And the main reason is that they've gained a reputation for being healthier than cow's milk.
Have nice porridge and I make that with soya milk.
That's all I have at home is soya milk. It tastes nicer than full fat milk. It's healthier than full fat milk. Lowers your cholesterol, less calories in it. Soya milk, I believe, is probably pretty good. I think it's quite low fat. It's quite high protein as well, I think, actually. I think it probably is better for you.
For anyone with an allergy or intolerance to cow's milk, these alternatives are great news. But to see if they really are any healthier for the rest of us, we asked nutritionist Linnea Patel to referee a battle of the bottles. And she's kicking off with a breakdown of the benefits of the traditional style.
Milk is a very, very nutritious food. It's got lots of calcium, lots of protein, and lots of minerals that are actually important for us.
And if you are sticking with cow's milk, let's settle an old argument, whether it's better to go full fat or skimmed. Now, full-fat milk contains around 3.5% fat. Semi-skimmed, the nation's best-selling milk, has around 1.7% fat. And skimmed has virtually no fat at all, with just 0.1%. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily the best choice.
If you're browsing aisles and thinking, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to opt for the skim milk instead of the full cream milk, then actually, in terms of fat, you're probably only looking at a teaspoon's difference between your skim milk and your full cream milk, which is not that many calories. So the calcium's going to be the same, the protein's going to be the same, so it's literally just the difference in fat.
And the fat is actually a crucial component of the milk, because it helps the body digest some of the nutrients found inside.
You actually need some fat to get the goodness from the milk. For example, vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. So skimmed milk and full-fat milk both contain vitamin D. But the vitamin D in the full cream milk, or the full-fat milk, will be better absorbed than in the skimmed milk.
But there's one key component that remains the same, whether you opt for full fat or skimmed, and that's calcium. A nutrient so great for growing bones that is the reason it's given out free in primary schools, like this one here in Cheshire. From the 1940s, all school children were given a small bottle of milk every day. But in 1968, the Labour government cut free milk for secondary pupils. And in 1971, the then Education Secretary Margaret Thatcher scrapped it for all children over 7, a decision that meant she was haunted by the title of milk snatcher for the rest of her political career.
Now, there have inevitably, Madam Chairman, been some comments about the milk policy.
Today, all under 5s are given free milk at school, and since last year, some older children get it as well.
I drink the milk in school because it always keeps me healthy, and it's tasty. It makes me stronger, so I can become better at sport. It makes you feel stronger and makes you feel healthier.
She's right, of course, but actually the milk children drink in schools and at home today doesn't have quite the same nutritional value as it did in the past.
Milk should also be a really good source of selenium, but nowadays our milk is not as rich in selenium as it should be.
Selenium is a vital nutrient found in the soil that makes its way into the body through products like milk. It keeps the human body healthy, boosting our metabolism and protecting us from infection. Trouble is, selenium levels in soil have dropped dramatically, which ultimately, of course, has an impact on our milk.
The cows feed on the grass. The grass doesn't have as much selenium, so as a result, the milk that the cows produce doesn't have as much selenium.
According to some studies, we now consume less than half the amount of selenium that we did back in the 1970s. But to counter that, some farmers are now adding the nutrient into cows' food.
It's very, very simple. We use a totally natural organic selenium in the diet, which replaces the natural selenium that's now been eroded from our soils.
With selenium being good for cows as well, everyone's a winner. A healthier herd makes better milk, which is reckoned will contain around 30% extra selenium. And it's this selenium-enriched milk that the pupils at this school are given every day.
I'm really proud that our milk's in 300 schools, and, I'm hopeful that more children and more schools will take it on board and increase their health. I think milk's really important and undervalued. We used to know when we were children that, drink a glass of milk, it's really good for you, and it's still really good for you.
But if good old-fashioned cow's milk is so good for us, why are so many consumers turning to these alternatives, which are selling better than ever before? Well, it's time now for the second round of our milk bottle battle. And this time, it's a big one. Dairy versus non-dairy.
There are so many different milks out there at the moment, and we have some of them here. So you have almond milk, you have rice milk, and you have soy milk. Now, some people might choose to go for these plant-based milks because they think that cow's milk is not as healthy, or that they're intolerant to some of the sugars or the proteins within the milk.
But as far as Linnea is concerned, if you don't have an intolerance, then the idea that these milks are better for you than dairy doesn't really stack up. And if you're cutting back on cow's milk, you could be missing out on a lot of nutrients.
The key is in the word. There are alternatives to milk. They're not necessarily a healthier choice, and I think that's important to know. Yes, it's going to have less fat in it than your full cream milk, but it's not going to have as much calcium, or it's not going to have as much protein.
And without the fat that you'll find in dairy milk, what goodness there is can't be so effectively absorbed by the body.
Soy milk, for example, is a milk that people think is very healthy, and if it says on the label it's fortified with calcium, we think that it's got as much calcium as there is in cow's milk. In cow's milk, you're going to absorb about 30 to 35%, whereas in soy milk, you only absorb about 20%. And the reason for that is that there's compounds within the soy milk that stop the absorption of the calcium.
It may be a poorer source of calcium, but soy milk is high in protein and low in saturated fat. It's important to know, though, that too much of it could be toxic for anybody with thyroid problems. Rice milk is low in fat and calories, but it contains no protein and is not recommended for children under 5, as some products can contain small amounts of arsenic. And almond milk, the best-selling dairy-free milk in Britain, while it's very low in calories, turns out to be low in lots of other things, including protein, calcium, and surprisingly, almonds. Some almond milks, believe it or not, contain just 2% almond, so the antioxidants and good fats normally found in almonds themselves aren't necessarily found in the carton. So before switching completely from cow's milk to an alternative, you should really talk to your GP, because in some cases, dairy is best. Now, all of that does seem to put cow's milk on top, especially for children, for whom its fats are crucial for growth. But while Linnea is not so quick to crown a winner, she's in no doubt that traditional cow's milk is one of the healthiest foods you can find.
Milk contains so many key nutrients, like your protein, like your calcium, which are fundamental for good health.
Earlier in the programme, I started trying to make sense of how our choices of food affect the way we tackle different activities every day. whether that means getting an extra boost if we're doing exercise or simply giving us enough energy for the working day. I'm in the middle of a particularly intense one of those. It'll last 18 hours, so I'll need all the help I can get. Nutritionist Charlotte Sterling Reid has come up with a meal plan to power me through it better. But I've been on the go since 3 this morning, so with my energy levels starting to dip, I'm well and truly ready for lunch. I'm pretty hungry. I've been up for quite a while now. Ordinarily, I just have a sandwich. I wouldn't really pay too much attention to the ingredients that are in it, other than what I sort of fancy to eat. But today, Charlotte's given me everything I need for a smoked salmon sandwich with salad and fruit. She says the whole grains in the bread and the protein in the salmon will release energy more slowly over a longer period. I'm fairly reassured by the fact that this isn't too far away from what I would be having for lunch normally. I noticed she didn't give me any crisps though. This lunch has a lot of work to do. I've a really busy afternoon ahead, and that's a danger zone for me. Like a lot of people, I'll usually reach for something sweet, but to replace those sugary snacks, Charlotte's given me nuts and whole grain popcorn. With no sugar rush, my body shouldn't go through those highs and lows of energy that I'm used to. For me, Charlotte's meal plan is all about maintaining the right kind of energy. But food doesn't just have to fuel our bodies while out and about, it can also help us power down at the end of the day too. Bob Howe and Mick Moran both work nights as volunteers for the Samaritans. But because their shifts are only occasional, their bodies don't have any kind of routine to get used to, meaning they find it hard to be alert when they're on duty and then hard to sleep when they get home. So I've asked Charlotte to pay them a visit and find some foods that will help. Their shifts run from 1 a.m. till 7 a.m, and throughout those 6 hours, Bob and Mick usually only eat small snacks.
During the night, we've probably taken a pikelet or a crumpet in or something like that to pop in the toaster if I get a chance to eat. A couple of cups of tea during the night, and then when we finish at 7, I'll come home. Generally, I'd have something like a bacon sandwich or bacon egg, and then go to bed. And again, try and get 2 or 3 hours, but that's about as much as I can manage. And then when I get up, I really don't know where I am with food.
Bob and Mick also tend to graze on biscuits throughout the night, but Charlotte recommends they ditch the sugary snacks and fuel up properly with a meal that will keep their energy levels constant.
Try and have some kind of light lunch in the middle of your work pattern. So even if something small like a sandwich helps give you a little bit of a boost of energy, a bit of motivation, and stop you from kind of grazing and snacking on biscuits during your time.
Charlotte suggests a protein-packed omelette to keep Bob and Mick's hunger pangs at bay.
There we go. Perfect. Would you be happy to give that a go to see if it helps with your routine, your eating routine?
Yeah, happy to give that a go, yeah.
Brilliant.
I would hope that I could go on duty and feel that I've got the sort of energy and the resources to get through without feeling half asleep in the middle of the night and that wag, yeah.
Absolutely.
Not being hungry is the key to keeping Bob and Mick alert on shift, but they can help stay sharp by eating foods rich in omega-3, like salmon or anything with lots of B vitamins such as whole grains, nuts and fish. That's the night shift sorted, but when Bob and Mick want to get to sleep in the morning, they've got a different battle ahead.